So, this is the world first policy. What exactly does Australia's ban require social media companies to do starting today?
So this puts the onus on the large social media companies. We're talking about Facebook, we're talking about X, we're talking about Instagram, Snapchat. As of today, every single person who has an account on these platforms in Australia who is under 16 should have their account removed, and they're no longer able to sign up anybody who is under 16 years old to sign up to the platform to try to get an account. The onus is on the company to be sure that these people, A, no longer have an account, and then B, aren't able to sign up for a new one.
And we're talking about major platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat. The list really goes on. But to remove all of this and deactivate all of these accounts from a practical standpoint, how realistic is this?
Yeah, of course, these are tech companies. I'm sure they can find ways to comply. But of course, we're talking about Australians who are between 13 and 15 years old that this really impacts, people who are already active on social media. And many of the companies, if they have collected that date of birth information, are going to have to either use age verification tools, sometimes uploading the ID, sometimes it's face verification, all types of privacy concerns there, as you can imagine. But it's definitely not going to be easy. There's not necessarily just a column where you can hit delete and everyone goes away in 1 second. People are going to find ways around the ban. People are going to be using VPNs if they're not active in Australia at the moment, or if they happen to be traveling. So there's definitely going to be a lot of issues in the very beginning. And it's a huge onus on the social media companies because every single infraction is going to be worth 45 million Australian dollars, about the same in Canadian dollars, which can represent a lot if we're talking about 400,000 people in Australia.
And the government says that the goal is to protect kids from active apps and harmful content. From your perspective, would you say this is the right way to be doing it?
I mean, I would say definitely not. This is the greatest thing about technology is we have all of these tools. I myself, I'm able to use the parental controls. I haven't yet gotten to the point of giving my kids smartphones, but that's something that already exists. And there are ways to protect what apps are being installed. If you're the parent on a certain profile, there's just general adult supervision of what your kids are doing online or on social media. So I think there a lot of people are trying to substitute the role that parents should play and really forcing government to take this to the tech companies. We have all of these tools. We have all these network blockers. We have these things available right now. It's true that a lot of people don't know about them or don't know how they work, but the tools exist and they voluntarily are there so that people can implement them and use them. This is really just using blunt force regulation that will likely make a lot of people worse off because they can't learn, they can't connect with their friends, and essentially we're cutting off all of these people from socialization that people like you and me use every single day.
And critics are calling this an overreach, saying that it limits personal freedoms and could push kids onto less regulated corners of the internet. What do you make of that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a e-safety commissioner, Jewel Ingham Grant. She's discussed how certain platforms, including Blue Sky, and you have all of the different political platforms. Some of these are not impacted just because they're not in the breadth of the government's regulation. But essentially, everyone's going to go to anonymous chat boards. People are going to find all kinds of seedy websites to go to. The greatest thing about all these technological tools is that they're available to everyone. So kids can also use VPNs and tunnel into different websites, different networks. There's all these different networks that already exist that people can access. And if it's only the big tech companies that are going to have all of these penalties and not allow young people on, then young people are just going to migrate. They're going to find a way because they want to connect with their friends. They want to connect with their family. They want to learn about the world. And if we have any of these kind of bans, there's not really a way that we can stop young people from getting online. So if that is essentially our goal, it's really something that Australians are going to fail at, and something that's being maybe implemented in Canada, being implemented in Europe. We could probably see the same thing in our countries very soon.
Well, and a big question for parents right now is how companies will actually verify the age. Is there a reliable system to make sure that kids under the age of 16 aren't slipping through the cracks, or is it going to be a test and trial and see how it works out?
Well, much like a lot of the proposed legislation in Canada, we have the Online Harms Act. There's sort of a duty of care, so that particular technological protocol of finding the age is put onto the tech companies, but we really legitimately don't have the best technology for this. Every single day there are data breaches, data hacks, all kinds of information that's stored. We saw that with the platform Blue Sky. People were verifying their IDs using some kind of service. Everything the next day was available on the dark net. People were able to scour through all of the IDs, many people who were underage. So there's a lot of arguments about how this actually makes kids less safe because they're actually having to submit their information, their documentation to these third parties or these verification services. We just don't have the perfect answer right now. There is no gold standard for figuring out someone's age. Maybe it's taking video, maybe it's uploading ID. We just don't really have the answer right now. And it means that we're having to create all of these solutions on the fly. And then I fear that we're not going to have the security nor the privacy restrictions in place to be sure that we don't create yet more harms after the fact.